Time for the space weather. I'm your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, coming at you from the Smash News Network. Least busted name in news. And we're starting out today's YouTube exclusive space weather video looking at the Earth's magnetosphere. So here's Earth's magnetic moment from space. We have a very diffuse solar wind speed. We'll get to it. A general reduction of solar activity. Radio flux now down to 109 solar flux units. 109 is the new radio flux number. And only 2 significant sunspots. They're not all that magnetically complex. Here's the last 4 hours of magnetohydrodynamic pressure. We're going to let it play through as it refreshed. And we don't edit the videos. These videos are almost like a live stream. And we make them that way to get them onto your screen as quickly as possible. So we're seeing quite low magnetohydrodynamic pressure here. The model showing nanopascals as the scale. So that was Earth's magnetic moment from space. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. Geospace delta B changes to Earth's B field, ground magnetic perturbations. We don't expect to see very many over the past 4 hours because, again, we've got a very diffuse solar wind speed, which we will get to in more detail momentarily. So, like the last video, let's let that play all the way through since it decided to refresh. And if you're getting bored, take a moment to press like and subscribe. More on our links. In a moment, we're not putting the moron in our moron links. Our links are not for morons. Let's continue on. KP index only at 1 here. It's geomagnetic calm conditions for you new viewers. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Make sure you take a moment to press like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Maybe press the share button, the notification bell. Maybe view some of our other videos on our playlists. The planetary K index is a measurement of global geomagnetism. Next thing we'll look at is the real-time solar wind, and it's just dropped off a cliff. It went all the way from about 5 protons per cubic centimeter down to like 2.5 protons per cubic centimeter, which is around where the current conditions are. Current solar wind speed about 444 kilometers per second. We also saw the temperature drop off. So the plasma has recently gotten cooler. That's that bottom green line. The rest of it is pretty unremarkable. There is a little bit of missing data, but nothing to write home about there. It's a subsiding solar wind. So next we'll look at the top view ecliptic plane field plot. And I still think that there's some activity rising in the southeast of the sun or about to form down there based on the magnetic data. Earth is about to snap into a North Pole current sheet also. This green area is a North Pole current sheet. Earth is about to leave the South Pole current sheet and enter into a North Pole current sheet. By tomorrow's video, assuming nothing changes, and it could suddenly change, but assuming nothing changes, by tomorrow's space weather YouTube exclusive, we would expect to see a North Pole current sheet. Here are our GOES magnetometers over the past 3 days. Nothing too special going on there. A little bit of higher highs and higher lows happening here. Besides that, pretty uneventful. Here's a line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. Solar magnetogram showing a little bit of activity there, mainly in the southern hemisphere. We've got 2 significantly large sunspots. We'll let you know about how complex they are in just a moment. First, coronal holes. And it looks like we've got some additional South Pole-oriented coronal holes rotating in here. A little bit of a magnetic tug-of-war going on over here. We've got North and South Pole coronal holes trying to cross the equator over there on the east side. And let's take a look at it in 193 angstroms from the SDO AIA. Part of the ultraviolet, the extreme ultraviolet spectrum. By the way, we have a series of coronal mass ejections that we'll cover at the end of the video as well, so stay tuned for that. That's the last 24 hours in ionized iron from the SDO. Next, moving on to sunspots. Again, we've only got two significant named groups here, 2999 and 3001. Besides that, the solar disk pretty blank. And while those are large sunspots, they are not magnetically complex. They are alpha-class sunspots, the kind not likely to produce major flares. Here's a view of them in 1700 angstroms. Again, those sunspots are, well, frankly, they're larger than the Earth. But they are not complex. They do not have both polarity magnetic fields. They're single field sunspots known as alpha class. Once again, keep your eye on the southeastern limb. We are expecting sunspots to either form or rise in that area. Again, we've got coronal mass ejections to show as well. Stay tuned for that. We'll tell you about what I think is the trajectory. Once again, thanks to our YouTube viewers. This was a YouTube exclusive video. We've got playlists with all kinds of other stuff on there, and pardon the alarmist style, sarcastic titles and thumbnails. We're making fun of YouTube and many YouTube creators with those kind of things. Again, thanks to our subscribers on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, press like, subscribe, share, etc. Have you seen our smashamash.org presents the sun videos? Well, they're pretty sweet. Here's smashamash.org presents the sun part 5. And we're showing the ionized carbon view there. Let's move on to talk about BitChute. Yeah, we're on BitChute as well. And I don't know what's going on with the censorship on the internet nowadays, but it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird indeed. We've been primarily putting our meteorology segments on BitChute. Today's featured product is Google Bias. Yes, I thought it was appropriate to cover the Google Bias products. Are you still using Google as a verb? Did you know that Google doesn't even want you to use Google as a verb? Yeah, it's true, folks. Google doesn't want you to use Google as a verb. So anyway, if you are using Google as a verb, the correct definition is to use the Google search engine to obtain biased results about someone or something on the internet. Biased results. I stopped using it in 2012 because I noticed it was not returning objective search results. Yeah, I typed in a URL and I had to go 12 pages deep. Did you know that Eric Schmidt described the shadow ban back in 2011 to Business Insider magazine before the word shadow ban was a thing? Yeah, he described the word shadow ban. It meant we're not going to remove the search results. We're just going to bury them deep in search. Does that remind you of anything? Did you know that YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world after Google? Yeah, Google followed by YouTube. Interesting fact about big tech as well, folks. Did you know that TikTok has replaced Google as the most visited website, and TikTok has replaced Facebook as the most used social media site on the entire planet? Yeah, I thought that might be some interesting facts for you. Have you noticed the NASDAQ pulling down the stock market? Well, we certainly have. Thanks to our Twitch followers. Oh my God, we're almost to 150. Holy crow, we are blowing up. Son of a bit turn. Let us know in the comments if you know what a bit turn is. Also, if you're on Twitter, make sure you answer our Twitter poll. It's quite simple. We think it's hilarious that we've got less than 250 followers. Actually, now we've made it to a whopping 250 followers. But we want to know what you think. Do you think Twitter is the same, which 92.9% of respondents so far think, or that Twitter is fixed, which 7.1% of respondents thought? 4 days left on that poll. Twitter.com/smashamash. We posted that on April 30th. Just scroll down and answer the question. Do you think Twitter is the same, or that Twitter is, quote, fixed, end quote? I think it's hilarious that people think Twitter is fixed. Also, make sure you view us on the Smash team. You'll see content not visible on YouTube there. So maybe check that out, smashamash.com/smash team. Thanks to our gold and silver subscribers, we've replaced Patreon with a superior service, although you can still donate via Patreon and PayPal and so on. smashamash.com/smash team. Visit the homepage. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance. You can find our social media links there, as well as links to the Discord chat and so on. Also, the merch can be found there. The Smash team, smashomash.com. Let's get back to the space weather. So next thing we're looking at is the Proton Flux, which is now back to baseline levels. Proton Flux back to flat here. And the X-ray profile has now dropped down below a C background level. So the X-ray flux dropping, the radio flux again down to 109 solar flux units. Let's take a look at 131 angstroms while we're talking about flares. It's a good wavelength through which to view flares. And it's been pretty quiet here, although there have been some C-class intensifications over the past 24 hours, which is what's depicted on this short video. .131 angstroms is one of the best wavelengths through which to view solar flares. That and 94 angstroms are specifically designed to view solar flares. Let's take a look at orientation. Jupiter and Venus right next to each other once again in the morning sky today. That's our star chart of what's going on over the Lehigh Valley while we recorded this video. It's in-the-sky.org's all sky chart. Saturn, Mars, Venus, and Jupiter all rising ahead of the Sun, a great planetary pileup in the morning. So here's a diagram of the solar system. Keep in mind it's not to scale. We've got a crescent waning. Let's see what's going to be going on in a week. There's where things will be in a week. And we'll also show some coronagraphs as we've got some coronal mass ejections. Are they earthly directed? Well, I've paused the video here on 10:06. Let's move that up to 10:30. So there we've got 10:23, 10:38, and 10:30. And so from Stereo A's perspective, Earth is off like this. From the Soho-Lasco C3, Earth would be behind you. And we're showing this moment because we can see that there is a coronal mass ejection that is somewhat in line with Earth in terms of being north and south. So let's see if we can see that same CME over here on the Soho-Lasco C3. And it looks like it's off to the west. So we don't see a halo at that moment. We do see this plasma up here, which coincides with this plasma here on Stereo A. It's on the opposite side of the Sun. And so do I think any of that ejecta is headed toward Earth? Well, certainly not. We'll let it play through regardless. Move that forward a little bit so they're synced. We're showing 90 frames here. We'll just let that play through there. So some more spectacular fireworks here from the closest star. None of them are expected, in my opinion, to be earthly directed in any way. The only one that was sort of on the north and south line will be off to Earth's west. So that's my theory. I'm sticking to it. You know, what's interesting about facts and observations is the observations don't lie. People lie. People talk all kinds of nonsense that makes absolutely no sense. So anyway, thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. May that solar wind be at your back as I sign off from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Opinions expressed in this video, not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted name in news.